Hey guys, I wanted to take a moment to talk to you a little bit about this upcoming paper because it's a big paper and there's so many assignments that are attached to it that it's real important from the very beginning that I make sure that you understand the big picture of the paper and what ultimately we're looking for and how we're going to be moving through the paper. So remember that this paper is going to require 7 different resources. So now that you have been moving through, you've been gathering those resources, some of your assignments have fed into that. You're going to be gathering a total of 7 resources at least that are going to be included in your paper. Remember that your paper has to be APA formatted and written in APA style, including your references. Your paper is going to need to be cited in text, showing the information that you gathered from those articles. What's really important when you gather your articles is to keep in mind that you're looking at one central topic, not just an area of study. So as you start out, you're looking at an area, and then you're going to narrow it down into a particular topic. So if your area is the personality, that's great. It's a fine topic to look at. What about the personality do you want to know? So maybe you decide that what I want to know is how is the female adolescent athlete influenced, how is their personality influenced by their sport? Okay, so that's a good topic. So I'm going to research and I'm going to find 7 articles that are related to that material. It's really important that you understand that your articles must come from the Southern New Hampshire Library, okay? Do not go to Google. Do not go to other resources because it's important that you know how to use the library and that you know how to pull down academic resources that are appropriate and peer-reviewed. If you just go to Google, if you just go to Wikipedia, if you just go someplace like that, those articles have not been peer-reviewed, so they may or may not even be accurate. So they haven't been vetted, and because of that, you can't use them for your research paper. You don't know that that's true information, so you don't want to further send out that information if you haven't validated that it's absolutely true information. So you need to go to the Southern New Hampshire Library. You need to use peer-reviewed materials. So I've seen where some articles are coming through and I've given back in feedback, listen, that's not a peer-reviewed article. It's a great article. It's interesting, but you don't know that that's an appropriate article. If you're not reading my feedback, you keep moving forward with that article and then it ends up costing you in the end. So it's really important that you understand that you need to be using the library. If you don't know how to use the library, of course, you go up to the resources tab and it's right there available to you in your course shell. But there's the Ask a Librarian feature and there's all kinds of tutorials right there in the library that can help you with your research. So once you've gotten your 7 articles, and most of you have got that pretty handled, you're going to be working on writing your paper. Now, when you write your paper, it's important to realize that you are not writing annotated bibliographies for your final paper. Okay, you did a couple annotated bibliographies, so that was the article and then told me a summary of it. But in your research paper, your paper will look very much like the research articles that you looked up in the library to use in your paper. It's going to be all of your articles blended together. So it's not going to say Article 1 says this, and Article 2 says this, and Article 3 says this. This is one paper, all written in your own words, telling us all about the things that you learned. So not Article 1, then Article 2, then Article 3. That's choppy, and it's not what you would look up in the library to read. Okay, so you want it to read just like a regular research article that you would pull up on your topic. You're moving to be and show us that you're those proficient writers. So you're going to be able to pull that up, write it in your own words. Okay, so check that Turnitin score. Your Turnitin score shouldn't be above around 20%. If it is, you've got to go right back into it and rewrite it in your own words. Sometimes I find that students over-borrow. They borrow too much material from somebody else. You want to read that material, write down your notes, your thoughts, and your ideas from all the articles, blend it together into your own narrative, and then that's going to be your paper, which is going to include 7 different articles. As you get to the end of that paper, then, what you're going to do and what's important to keep in mind is you're going to then identify in your summary, what do you think is the gap in the research? So now that I've read all these articles and I've told you about my subject, which is the development of the personality in the female athlete, adolescent athlete, I think a gap in the research is the influence that that the sport itself has on the development of their self-esteem. So if I want to say that I don't, as much as I've read these articles, I'm not seeing a lot on self-esteem. I think more work should be done on self-esteem. I'm going to write that up and I'm going to explain why I think that needs to be done. And then underneath that, I'm going to explain what type of research I think should be done on it. So I would recommend that there be a survey given to children, female children that are between the ages of 13 and 16, coming from these 2 sports or these 3 sports. A 20-question survey that should go through an ethical process to make sure it's screened and cleared, and that research would give us some valuable insight into the development of the self-esteem for the female athlete. Okay, so you're gonna write the paper, blend it together, tell us the gap, what was still missing, and how you think that gap should be filled. You don't have to do the research, just tell us how you think it should be done. Like, somebody should do this. We need to know more about this particular topic. Okay, so that's the total paper, but it's got a lot involved in it. So as I'm looking at some papers now, I'm seeing some resources that are coming through that are not academic or not peer reviewed. I'm seeing a few different situations where people's topics are too broad. So they're pulling in lots of articles, which are good articles, but they're not one common theme. So how are you going to take those articles and turn them into one theme, one paper? And that could be very confusing. I don't want you guys to have to redo the work or get frustrated at the end of the term when you've got all this other stuff going on when you just weren't thinking about it in advance. The biggest key I can say is please go to the week 5 module and open up the module where it talks about the week 5 paper. That week 5 paper is the rough draft. You're going to turn that rough draft into me, and I'm going to give you feedback on it. So when you open up that paper, it's going to say the Module 5 milestones paper, okay? That's very detailed. Now, the summary, the narrative itself is short. You have to click on the link to the milestones paper. You have to click on that link and it will open up all of the parameters for the paper. So it's really clear to see each and every section that I'm going to have to grade you on and what's expected from each section. It also has a link to the grading rubric. So you have to look for the links. Know that those are active links and they will open up another paper. Those papers will tell you exactly what you're graded on. In addition, after that week 5 paper is turned into me, I will be giving you either a written narrative, or I often will do a voice narrative so you can listen and hear the feedback on the paper. Use that feedback to change or alter or adjust your paper to the week 7. So week 7 should be your final paper turned in with the adjustments made that I recommended in week 5. So if you don't read your feedback, then you're not going to know what to fix, and then you're going to make the same mistake in week 7. And then you're going to get hit in the grade if you did make a mistake that you didn't correct for because the feedback was there. So really important that you read that feedback, but even more importantly on the front end of it is that you open up that milestones paper. Again, it's an active link, as well as the grading rubric, and use those to grade yourself. So if you take those through and you look at your paper graded against what those things are, then you'll kind of have a good feel for how you're going to do on that final paper. So again, make sure you're using the library, make sure you're looking at those papers, make sure you've got one solid topic that you're developing your paper through. If in the process of doing your paper you have any questions or you're lost or you're not sure what to do, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I would rather you reach out to me early when you're stuck so I can help you get unstuck, so then you get frustrated in the end of the paper. So that said, I am really looking forward to your final papers. I've seen some really cool subjects. It's one of my favorite things of these classes is reading the paper and then just, learning about all this research that I didn't even know about. So I'm really looking forward to that. So happy writing. And again, reach out to me if you have any questions. I'm here to help.